Using crater camp requires significantly more effort on our part, as the entire mountain crew, along with all of the expedition equipment, has to ascend 4,000 feet higher than they normally would. Therefore, there is considerable added cost to do a crater camp route. From crater camp, one can take an optional 1-hour hike to Ryush Crater or simply explore the areas around Furtwängler Glacier. Ryush Crater is a magnificent sight. It is almost perfectly circular, and the ash pit measures 400 feet, 120 meters, deep, and at 1,300 feet, 400 meters wide. This is rarely seen by tourists. We understand the attraction of staying at crater camp. However, the drawback of sleeping at this high altitude is that it is pretty dangerous. Serious AMS can develop if adequate altitude acclimatization has not been achieved. Lemosho plus crater camp route itinerary. This is a crater camp route itinerary by Tranquil Kilimanjaro. Lemosho crater camp can be done in 9 days. So here is the itinerary. Arrival day. When you arrive at the airport, you will be met by your guide. We will drive you to your hotel in Moshi or Arusha. Thereafter, we will brief you about your trip. After a short equipment and gear check, we will leave you to rest before your next day adventure to Africa's highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. Day 1, Londorossi Gate to MTI Mkubwa. Elevation, 7,742 feet to 9,498 feet. Hiking time, 3 to 4 hours. Distance, 6 kilometers to 4 miles. Habitat, rainforest. We depart Moshi for Londorossi Gate, which takes about 4 hours, where you will complete entry formalities. Then drive to the Lemosho trailhead. Upon arrival at trailhead, we begin hiking through undisturbed forest which winds to the first campsite. Day 2, MTI Mkubwa to Shira 1 camp. Elevation, 9,498 feet to 11,500 feet. Hiking time, 5 to 6 hours. Distance, 8 kilometers or 5 miles. Habitat, Heath. We continue on the trail leading out of the rainforest and into a savannah of tall grasses, heather and volcanic rock draped with lichen beards. As we ascend through the lush rolling hills and cross several streams, we reach the Shira Ridge before dropping gently down to Shira 1 camp. Here we catch our first glimpse of Kibo across the plateau. Day 3, Shira 1 camp to Moir hut. We explore the Shira Plateau for a full day. It is a gentle walk east on moorland meadows toward Shira 2 camp. Then we divert from the main trail to Moir hut, a little used site on the base of Lent Hills. A variety of walks are available on Lent Hills, making this an excellent acclimatization opportunity. Shira Plateau is one of the highest plateaus on Earth. Elevation, 11,500 feet to 13,800 feet. Hiking time, 5 to 7 hours. Distance, 11 kilometers or 7 miles. Habitat, Heath. Day 4, Moir hut to Lava Tower to Barranco camp. We begin the day climbing up a ridge and then head southeast towards the Lava Tower, a 300-foot-tall volcanic rock formation. We descend down to Barranco camp through the strange but beautiful Senecio forest to an altitude of 13,000 feet. Although you begin and end a day at the same elevation, the time spent at higher altitude is very beneficial for acclimatization. Moir hut to Lava Tower. Elevation, 12,500 feet to 15,190 feet. Hiking time, 4 to 5 hours. Distance 7 kilometers to 4 miles. Habitat alpine desert. Lava Tower to Barranco camp. Elevation 15,190 feet to 13,044 feet. Hiking time 2 to 3 hours. Distance 3 kilometers or 2 miles. Habitat alpine desert. Day 5. Barranco camp to Karanga camp. We begin the day by descending into a ravine to the base of the Great Barranco Wall. Then we climb the non-technical but steep, nearly 900-foot cliff. From the top of the Barranco Wall, we cross a series of hills and valleys until we descend sharply into Karanga Valley. One more steep climb up leads us to Karanga camp. This is a shorter day meant for acclimatization. Elevation 13,044 feet to 13,106 feet. Hiking time 4 to 5 hours. Distance 5 kilometers or 3 miles. Habitat alpine desert. Day 6. Karanga camp to Barafu camp. We leave Karanga and hit the junction which connects with the Mweka trail. We continue up to the rocky section to Barafu Hut. At this point, you have completed the southern circuit, which offers views of the summit from many different angles. Here we make camp, rest and enjoy an early dinner to prepare for the summit day. The 2 peaks of Mwenzi and Kibo are viewable from this position. Elevation 1,106 feet to 15,331 feet. Hiking time 4 to 5 hours. Distance 4 kilometers or 2 miles. Habitat alpine desert. Day 7. Barafu camp to Uhuru Peak to Crater camp. During normal morning hours, we begin our push to the summit. This is the most mentally and physically challenging portion of the trek. We ascend for several hours at a slow but steady pace while taking frequent but short breaks. The trail turns into heavy scree as we make the steep climb to the crater rim. At Stellar Point, 18,900 feet, we see the summit sign in the distance. We continue around the crater rim until finally we arrive at Uhuru Peak, the highest point on Mount Kilimanjaro and the continent of Africa. We then descend a short distance to Crater Camp, where the rest of the staff will join us to set up camp. There is an option to hike to Roich Crater and the Ash Pit, or simply explore the areas around Furtwängler Glacier. Sleeping at this high altitude can be dangerous. Serious AMS can develop if adequate altitude acclimatization has not been achieved, so the guides will monitor you very closely. Barafu Camp to Uhuru Peak. Elevation 15,331 feet to 19,341 feet. Hiking time 7 to 8 hours. Distance 5 kilometers or 3 miles. Habitat Arctic. Uhuru Peak to Crater Camp. Elevation 19,341 feet to 18,865 feet. Hiking time 30 minutes to 1 hour. Distance 1 kilometer or 0.6 miles. Habitat Arctic. Day 8. Crater Camp to Mweka Camp. From Crater Camp, we now make our descent continuing straight down to the Mweka Hut campsite, stopping at Barafu for lunch. The trail is very rocky and can be quite hard on the knees. Trekking poles are helpful. Mweka Camp is situated in the upper forest and mist or rain can be expected in the late afternoon. Later in the evening, we enjoy our last dinner on the mountain and a well-earned sleep. Elevation 18,865 feet to 10,065 feet. Hiking time 4 to 6 hours. Distance 12 kilometers or 7 miles. Habitat Arctic. Day 9, Mweka Camp to Mweka Gate. On our last day, we continue the descent to Mweka Gate and collect the summit certificates. At lower elevations, it can be wet and muddy. From the gate, we continue another hour to Mweka Village. A vehicle will meet us at Mweka Village to drive us back to the hotel in Moshi. Elevation 10,065 feet to 5,380 feet. Hiking time 3 to 4 hours. Distance 10 kilometers or 6 miles. Habitat rainforest. Departure day. After your worthwhile climb, we will pick you at your hotel and transport you to the airport, where we will bid you farewell, or alternatively, we can take you on a nice safari. Zanzibar beach getaway or both to wind up your trip.